All right. Well, we appreciate everybody jumping on and joining us this morning. No, it's early in certain parts of the world and late in other parts of the world. We wanted to take a quick 30 minutes to update everybody on what we've been busy with at Jigx and what we have coming. There certainly has been some exciting developments. So I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to jump right in here. Let me just get my screen sharing up. And we have with us this morning Glenn Bryant and Dennis Parker, and then also Stephanie from our side. So as I mentioned, the update this morning really about what's been happening at Jigx over the last few months. We have some exciting things that we're working on and exciting things that is on its way. One of the most significant things has been the adoption of Jigx, which has really blown us away. It's sort of surpassed every expectation that we've had, and in many ways has kept us more busy than what we expected. User count continues to grow very significantly and very rapidly, which is really good because not just that, but we're also seeing with that continuous massive utilization on the platform itself. Of course, that means that we're getting a lot of feedback and a lot of things that we wanted to add to the platform. And really what we want to talk to you about today. A couple of highlights for us is some things that we've added. We know that working with files and media is important for people. We support something like Microsoft OneDrive out of the box, all the advanced features. And if you really want a platform that supports files and versioning and sharing, that is the right choice for storing files or rich media. However, if you want a more simpler solution where you can very quickly and easily integrate it into the solution, we added a capability called dynamic files. It ends up within AWS and within AWS S3, so it's not our own storage mechanism, and it's protected by S3, and it's completely it's compliance-based GDPR. Data and files are only stored within the regions where the customers are, and it's completely access control based on policies that you specify. But it really makes it easy to incorporate rich media within Jigx solutions and up to gigabytes of file sizes. So not really limited there as to what you want to upload or add. As part of that, we added support for more richer media, videos, high-resolution videos, larger video sizes. This is now incorporated into the software. And of course, when we do that, we add load to the syncing. One of the core pillars of Jigx is the ability to go offline, the syncing operations. We made some investments within what we call queue operations. Really, when we start dealing with transactional systems in the back end and transactional integrity, when you're offline and you come online, how do you create that transactional integrity and manage that transactional integrity? So we've done a lot of work around queue operations and queue robustness. And we've also opened some of that up to the solution builders through API calls. So you can actually now decide what sync or when sync, or you go offline and online, how to deal with that queue, depending on what the system on the other side expects. By default, it just works and continues to work. But if you do have systems that sort of falls outside the norm, you have queue operations. Authentication, we added Auth0 support. So pretty much anything that Auth0 can auth into, whether it's custom development or into other existing systems, that really is an exciting development. We added global actions, which means you can start to centralize all your logic and make it much more reusable. And of course, with the ability to centralize application logic, we are also adding JavaScript support. It's not in the current builds, it will be out there soon, but you can use JavaScript rather than JSON-ATA, and you can combine the two. So you can have JSON-ATA functions, which is really good with working with JSON data, very easy to work with JSON data. But if you want to get more into sort of JavaScript programmable logic, JavaScript support is now also available for you and will be available for you within Jigx. One of the other things that we have that we pride ourselves in is how good Jigx applications look. So we continue to make some enhancements there. We added some new components, of which JC Card is just one example. It really allows you to pop certain content. But then taking it a step further, and we'll talk a little bit about this more this morning, is adding this concept called custom components. How do I really bring some additional UI innovation into the platform and empower developers to do this as well? It's available actually in the platform now. Upon request, we can enable it. for you. We've been testing it, and we'll show you some examples this morning. We wanted to make sure that if we make it available, number one, it scales and it works, and because there's now unlimited possibilities for user experiences. We still want to make sure it looks good. We want to make sure it behaves well. But we have come a long way, and we're really excited to show to you what's possible there. We'll show some of that to you this morning. Couple of fixes, Android performance, sometimes 50, sometimes up to as high as 100 times faster. It sounds impossible, but some great work there by the team. Complex solution startup times, 10 times faster. We've seen some great enhancements there. Robustness of OAuth handling, as well as many other tweaks that we got back from customers and partners that's been using the software. So we've been really busy, and we look forward to showing that to you. Of course, one of the big things is going to market and taking all this innovation to market. One of the key pillars that we stand on as a business is our partnerships and relationships with industry leaders and titans out there. When you look at firms that engage with organizations, not just to help them with technology, but to help them with their businesses and their business processes and innovation, to become better versions of themselves that brings the skilled consulting and expertise. There are few consulting partners out there that matches what Point B has, and truly a leader in a number of different verticals that they play in. We've been very fortunate that we've had the opportunity to work with Jesse and Lex and Julie and a number of other people at Point B over the last 6 months. Point B has been working with us, and if you look at that statistics, it's absolutely incredible. 768 million days a year are being wasted by deskless workers, so people who don't have access to computers while they do their work, navigating the systems that are deployed around them. That is a massive amount of loss of productivity. That is across all different verticals and horizontals. 70% of the workforce in the USA are deskless workers, 110 million people. And as I mentioned, it's across all verticals and horizontals, agriculture, retail. We often think about healthcare, but you go look at retail and construction, equal size, restaurants, hospitality. So what can we do, and how can we work as a company, as Jigx, to build solutions and help these people with productivity? We don't have the consulting skills or the business solution skills. And so this partnership with Point B is a really exciting one for us. And it's not just us. That partnership relationship is open to everybody within our community that can work with Point B. And we've certainly made a lot of work. One of the solutions and the end results of what we're doing here is really building a solution, a single solution that is available, almost a super app for deskless workers, making sure that we can capitalize on this untapped opportunity and wasteful time within deskless workers and really make their lives a lot better. And I'll show you some of the innovation that's actually coming out of this great relationship between ourselves and Point B, and certainly has been one of the highlights for us over the last 6 months. At the same time, we've built a great relationship with Acumatica. Acumatica is a cloud ERP system with roughly 6,000 customers around the world. And we identify an opportunity where a lot of the implementations in Acumatica deals with field services, people that are, again, deskless, not in front of computers, need access to information, real-time troubleshooting, real-time people management, real-time project management. And we wanted to make that a lot easier. So we've been working with the Acumatica team. It's been a fantastic ride. They've been unbelievable in supporting us. And it also brought a lot of maturity to our platform. We want to show you some of this morning. We got Jigx certified for Acumatica, which is important because we do a lot of low-level transactional integration here where we actually post into the ERP system in real time at the back end. And again, online, offline scenarios in the integrity of that data. When you integrate into warehousing systems, order processing, time card management, facilities management is absolutely critical. We wanted to make sure that the platform supports this out of the box so people don't have to tie themselves up in the detail of transactional integrity when we integrate into this. So we have developed a solution, and we have a team now that's responsible for developing this solution and building this solution out, which is the Jigx Field Services application. We're going to show you some of that this morning. One of the first systems that we integrate with as part of taking Jigx Field Services to market, and keep in mind what we talked about, this 780 million hours of productivity that's wasted. Jigx Field Services a solution that really speaks to the productivity within that community. First systems that we integrate with is Acumatica, and it has been a fantastic ride for us. Mike Duberstein at PSL has been so instrumental in helping us and working with us within the channel. And then also Steve Collins from Collins Computing, one of the early partners that engaged with us and has been working with us through this and through the early adoption cycles. And we really, really appreciate the time, Mike, that you and Steve have invested and worked with us on this journey. And we really are at a point now where the opportunity growth and customer growth is just absolutely overwhelming. We are adding and signing multiple customers a week. We have multiple new opportunities coming in a day. These are just a few of the customers, and we're excited to have them on board that signed recently. It really has been a wave and a flood of exciting opportunities for us, showing us what is possible if you take a solution that speaks to this massive productivity gap in the market to market. So we want to show you some of this morning. I'm going to hand over to Dennis. Dennis is going to do some demos and show us a little bit of the Acumatica integration for the Jigx Field Services solution. And then we're going to come back. I have some very other exciting components and things I want to share with you this morning, and some other subsequent demos. So Dennis, over to you.
Thanks, Adrian. I'm just going to share my screen up here. And yeah, if you could just confirm that that's coming across, that'd be great.
Yep,
looks good.
Awesome. All right. So yeah, we're going to give you a quick demo through the Acumatica-based field services solution that we're providing. As Adrian says, it's been a really exciting time. And I also want to just do a quick call out to the Acumatica people that made this possible, particularly Cindy from Acumatica, along with Foy, and the assistance that we've had from Acumatica in promoting this and bringing it to the Acumatica customer base has been really outstanding. So let me jump right into the demo. What I'm going to do is try and take you through a day in the life of a field services person, just give you a sense of kind of what they go through on a daily basis and some of the issues that they might find really, really important. And so when we think about that, if you think about yourself as a field services person, there's a few things that you want. You want it to be quick because you're interested in fixing stuff. You're not really interested in spending, as Adrian pointed out right at the beginning, hours and hours dealing with ERP systems. You just want to get the job done, and you want to record what happened on that job as quickly as possible. It should be really, really easy to use. It should go offline, which is a really, really key thing and part of our core Jigx story. We'll talk about that and show a little bit about that as well as we go through the session today. And then there's a host of other things which we're definitely not going to get time for, but you definitely would want to do things like record time. You would want to add inventory that you used on a job, and that inventory then just goes straight through the invoicing system seamlessly, so the end customer gets an invoice and has the cost of their job almost instantly. In certain situations, that leads to taking payment. So you want to take a payment directly with the customer. That's all dealt with as well. And then beyond that, as is always the case, there's customization. So there's always situations that you're going to run into where customers have specific things. And again, the Jigx platform lends itself really, really well to some of those customizations. So just as an example, one of the people that we're talking to at the moment is they service microbreweries, quite a nice job to have, I guess. And in there are very specific things that you need to record about levels of glycol that go into tanks, which drop the temperature of those tanks so that you get a nice cold beer. And they have very specific checks that they want to implement as part of each job. And as a result, we've added sort of custom forms capabilities for them on top of that. Great. So that's enough lead. And let's have a look at the appointment. On the left, what we're seeing is the Acumatica ERP system. And on the right is the Jigx Field Services solution. And actually what you're seeing is, in fact, the identical information on the right, on the left. And I'm just going to take you through that. So if I'm the field service tech, and we'll have a look just now about how I get to my appointment. But just very briefly as an overview, if I just press on the appointment on the top, I go into the detail of that appointment. It immediately gives me sort of location information there on the top. And then, believe it or not, everything is very, very easily accessible to me. So if I go, for instance, down to the settings tab, With a thumb press, I have that same settings tab, but here I can use the capabilities of the mobile to collapse stuff away that I don't want to see. And probably as the field service tech, what I might be interested in is just give me the contact so that I know who I'm talking to when I get there. So that ability to use the capabilities of the mobile, and you can see that the response on the mobile is absolutely instant. There is zero lag. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we go through, so we can see that. So other things that I might be interested in is the detail of what I'm doing today at this job. So in this case, it's a database backup problem that I'm going to see. And again, if I navigate there, I can immediately see that on the mobile app. So all of these tabs and all of this detail is actually available to you on the map. But if you, as you look at these screens, it's really sort of informative to kind of look at the experience that we're able to deliver now to the field services app using the mobile form factor. And also interestingly, why I think now what we're seeing is such an enthusiastic reaction to the solution. Great. So let's step back a little bit. Obviously, we can see things like staff, because you might have more than one staff on there, notes, etc. But we'll see a little bit of this as we go through a day in the life of a field tech. So if I kind of pick up my phone in the morning, what I'd be faced with is this. And what I can do is immediately go to appointments. I can see my appointments for today. So here's the 3 appointments that I need to track today. I can see my plus, which is any appointment on any day, or I could go and look at all appointments, which will show me not only my appointments that are unallocated, that's the one you see in red at the bottom there, and then also people that are appointments that are allocated to other people. So Amro Bank, for instance, at the bottom there, is allocated to Lisa, and LB is not me. In this situation, I am MB. Maxwell Baker is my persona in this particular situation. So I can very easily filter, search, look on specific days. All of that ability to look is very, very easy. And to make this even easier, I can go to a calendar view. So here I can see my day today, and I can see, right, well, at 10 o'clock, I have my first appointment. And if I click into that, I can see that, and I can then go and say view appointment, and I'm into my appointment. And the context of that appointment is there. So we can see, if you look at the appointment number on the right-hand side, it's 6427, and I can say, great, I'm ready to go. I hop into my vehicle, and I can immediately start that appointment. So, and you can see that again, the thumb action is kind of very intuitive for me. So we'll see on the right-hand side that as I start on the mobile, if I now refresh on the ERP system over here, we should see that the appointment updates and goes into an in-process phase. So we'll just give that an opportunity to refresh. And again, without kind of putting too much of a point on it, you can sort of see the performance kind of difference between the two. And we can see that this now has started. So great. All right, so the first thing I'd want to do is probably navigate to my customer. So again, I can use the capabilities of the phone. And look, I've done this a little bit differently. I'm based in the UK. If I navigated to New York, where this appointment is, it would put me over the Atlantic Ocean. That wouldn't look too good. So I've faked this a little bit. It goes from my house here west of London to Reading. But you can see, importantly, out of this is it gives me all the routing, shows me the traffic delays, and uses the capability of the phone to make life easy for the tech. So I'm on my way to the appointment, and when I get there, I can then start work on this appointment. Now, at any point in time, I can add photos and documents to that, and we'll do that there. And of course, when I get there, one of the things I might want to do is say, well, let's see what else has happened at this customer. So for this customer, and for the specific location, I can ask the ERP system to say, hey, give me all the history of any other appointments that have happened at this customer. And it'll then show me these 21 other appointments. And we can see there's been a lot of kind of installation of various IT equipment in there. And I can jump in there and look at any level of detail. And we've seen this. We've seen customers find this tremendously useful. Often what happens, particularly on catering equipment, is the guys go back and back and back, doing service equipment on the same kit because it's basically not repaired correctly in the first instance. So appointment history is super useful to somebody. And underneath that, we've got something that's quite interesting, which is called Justin. And let's take a look at what happens when we call Justin. So in this particular instance, I've got a database backup, and I'm having an issue with the backup. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Justin. I'm going to see if he can help me out here. Justin, can you help me with a SQL Server backup problem? Great. So Justin comes back and asks me for the specific issue. And so what I'm going to say here is I can see on the console as I'm trying to do this backup that I've got a SQL Server 1117. So let me see what Justin says about that. Justin, I see a SQL Server error message 1117. Okay, so we can see in this instance, he comes back, it's contextualized, he knows what it is. And we can see in this particular instance, it's because the disk drive, the database has stopped writing to the disk drive, which is probably an indication that the disk drive is full or otherwise faulty. So great. So we can see that kind of information is available. And we all know there's an AI engine obviously driving behind this. But the important thing to understand about this is that we found, and we've worked with a couple of customers now on this, is that you can actually contextualize the AI into the specific model of the equipment that customers are dealing with. So the troubleshooting of specific bits of equipment for these field techs is actually a real use case and stuff that we're seeing. And even in this case, with very little, I did do a little bit of training on this, but this AI was actually able to give me sensible information about the SQL Server problem that I've got on this job. Great. So what I'm going to do at this situation is head into the details, and I've used a bit of inventory in here, which is a hard drive. So I can go in here, and you can imagine that as a field tech, you could literally have thousands of items on your phone. All of this is available offline, and all of it is instantly searchable. So if I just take something in there, it'll immediately give me the hard drives that are available in my inventory here, and I can take one. So I'm going to take this SSD drive, and I'm going to add this to the appointment. So I'm going to save that away, and we can see that that's done. Now, if I go over again just to the ERP system here, and I refresh, there we can see immediately that drive has been added onto our appointment there. And so with that, what I can do is I can say, great, well, I think we're done here. So what I'll do is just take a photo of the situation that I found. So what I'm going to do is do that, and I choose from my library, and hopefully you guys won't find yourselves ever in this situation. But there's a flooded server room that maybe he was dealing with on the day. All right, so we can save that photo away. So you can see the ability to deal with photos as part of your thing is really, really easy, and again uses the capabilities of the device. And again, if I go over here to the ERP system and I refresh this, and I go to the file section up here, and I go to the photo, there we will see our flooded server, and it's pretty quick. All right, so with that, I'm done with my appointment, and so what I can do at this point in time is I can complete the appointment, and again we'll see just really nice capabilities here. So I can sign this off. So I'm going to say DP over here, and I'll apply that, and here I'll just put whatever. Dave is the customer, Dave Smith. Happy with the job. We fixed the backup problem. We replaced the drive, and I can sign acceptance. And we're done, right? And so now when I look again on the field services appointment, what I'll see over here is that the status has gone to completed. If I look, it's always just an issue with the real estate that we have here. But if I look here in the files, I will actually see that the signature is also captured away to the ERP system. So that field tech, and you can see the experience that the field tech has had with the phone. I mean, it's been quick, it's been absolutely instantaneous, and it's been really easy. Now I'm going to show One more quick thing before I hand it back to Adrian. I think he'll probably take it back for me shortly if I don't do this. And I wanted to quickly just show you what happens if we go offline. So I'm going to continue with my scenario, and I'm going to say, right, I've finished my first appointment. So what I want to do is head off to my second appointment. Here we go, which is this one. And we'll see here that I've just got a SQL Server install that I'm going to do on the second one. And what I'm going to do at this point in time is I'm going to take the device offline. So let's also just switch the appointment focus on the left to the 6428, this one over here. And we'll start it, and then we'll go offline. So we'll take a scenario that I've arrived at the customer. I've headed into the facility, and unfortunately, the customer's stuff is in a basement. So we can see these are both in process. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to simulate now taking the phone offline. So here we go. I'm going to put this into airplane mode so it will offline. And we will just continue with that. So we can see nothing changes. You can see if you look carefully at the top, you'll see it says no internet connection. But from the text point of view, there is absolutely no difference to what they want to do. So in this instance, I'm going to proceed as I did with the other one. I'm going to add an item. I had a look at the situation here, established actually that there was, did the install, and then also put a filter onto the computer because there's a lot of dust and dirty stuff around this particular installation. So I'm going to add that away, and we can see that it just adds obviously to on this side. But if I go here and I look at details and I refresh, then obviously the physics is telling me that nothing's going to happen here, right? Because we're not connected. And I can continue. So just to make sure that we've got the full experience, I'm going to take a photo, and let's add a photo of our dusty environment. So I'm going to choose from the library. I'll go to recent, and here you can see why we needed a filter. So there we go. We've got a pretty dirty environment where our SQL Server is. So I can choose that. And done, and I'm going to save the photo. And all of that, as you can see, just continues to work completely seamlessly. And in fact, what I can do is go ahead while I'm down here is I can go ahead and complete this. So we'll call this one DX just so it's different. And we'll call this one, I don't know, Mike Smith. And done, Smith, and done, and sign the acceptance. And the appointment is now completed. And again, what we can see if we go obviously to the Acumatica side, that nothing is going to change over there. So if I refresh this, everything will be as it was before we went offline. Still in process, no inventory, no photos, no nothing. So now I'm coming out of the basement. So let me go back to my settings, and I'm going to bring the device online again. And then jump back into my van. I don't need to do anything more than that. I can just literally jump into my van, and I can look at the calendar, and I can head off for my third appointment. So I can just put that in play. And then in the back office, maybe they're calling me to say what happened on the second appointment. And we should see, as I refresh that this is now completed. If I go to the details, we'll see there's the filter that I added. And if I go to the files, there we'll see the photo that I added of the dusty server room. And if I look at the signature, there's my DX that I captured. So just a completely seamless experience. And the most important thing about that offline experience is that it all just works without you having to worry about it. And importantly for the techs, this entire experience is just quick and easy for them. So I hope that's given you a good kind of insight into kind of what we're doing. Lots of exciting stuff going on here. Really been impressed with the customer reaction, and we look forward to doing a lot more in this space. With that, I'm going to give this back to Adrian. Thanks.
Thanks, Dennis. Appreciate it. Well done. I'm gonna go hop back here, share my screen quickly. We're gonna keep moving. just want to go back here to PowerPoint. So let's take a look at some of the other things we want to show you. Just going to run through it quickly before we jump in. We've obviously done a lot of work in AI and LLMs. There's so much going on. There's so much potential at the same time. There's so many pitfalls. And when we build these capabilities into our platform, we want to make sure that it's not demoware that falls short. We want to make sure that it's real, that our partners can use it, they can rely on it, and that they have a certain amount of flexibility when they decide what they want to use. So I'll run you through a couple of scenarios, and in the process of doing this, the investments that we've made, and that we will continue to make, some of the opportunities for innovation that we discovered as well. There's two areas that we're looking at this at Jigx. One is during build time. So what can we do to make it easier for people who build these solutions? And I'll show you one example this morning. It's actually a really big project in Jigx that's currently going on, and that you will see a lot more of sort of towards the end of the year. But I want to show you a little bit of the early work that we've done there that we are all using, and it's immediately saving us a tremendous amount of time in building these solutions. And then once we're done with that, I actually want to talk to you about the runtime of how we use these LLMs, because there's a number of different scenarios. We've decided on the runtime side to make an investment in OpenAI. We wanted to make it really easy for people to be able to use assistants and the full assistant API, which if you look at the code and sort of the almost disconnected asynchronous way in which those APIs work, we had to do some work on the mobile side to make sure that we can actually maintain that connectivity through a solution platform that's inherently offline safe. But the ability to integrate with assistants, the ability to utilize the vector databases and the indexing capabilities that's there, and also the fine-tuning, wanted to make sure that we bring that full extent capabilities to Jigx. So we've made some investments on our cloud side. Grant has done some great work there, and then also in some usable actions on the client side. So I want to show some of that to you this morning. I also want to talk about the different scenarios that we have where we really see this sort of evolving through 3 different phases. And without giving away too much, but straight up chat, and how do you use chat? You saw Dennis doing a little bit of that. What about it if I need to provide context information into chat? That introduces a whole can of worms, because who can see that information? When I train the LLM on this, what information leaks? Even if I create vector databases and you use embeddings within LLMs, that information actually gets embedded and is available to a broad audience. So how do we think about data that is just in smaller little bits available to me, that contextualizes the task that I want to do within the context of the information within the organization that I can see in a highly protected way? So we'll talk a little bit about this concept called data puddles, and we're not going to go into that. This really is a thing for later this year. It's but really using the existing infrastructure that we have to build these contextual little islands of information that we then use with the LLMs, and it makes the responses we get so effective and just so much more productive, and then of course cost effective. Delivering micro user experiences. Keep in mind, when people work on mobile phones, you've got 15 seconds to get a task done. If you can't, it's too tedious, you lose the user. So we really want to keep on maintain these 15-second cycles of productivity and do it with information that's really relevant to you. So that was the goal that we set out to achieve. So let's take a look here. A couple of things I'm going to jump into. The first thing is actually opening VS Code here before I do anything else. I have a standard VS Code project here, and this is just an empty project that I just added. You'll see a couple of things here. I have the global actions folder. I also have this thing called components, which I'll talk to you a little bit about. I'm actually going to show you quite a bit of that. I have scripts, which is already in my build, so I can have the ability to build JavaScript functions and export those, so that will be available for everybody as well. We've also made our translations much more flexible and generic. And then, of course, as I mentioned, one of the things that we worked on is making it easier and assisting people to build solutions. So I'm going to jump right in deep here on this. Of course, we want to building Jigx solutions. You can go in different levels if you want to. I'm going in at the bottom here. And one of the things we know takes quite a lot of time for people is actually writing SQL. SQL is a structured query language and the ability to join and visualize the data and what you want to do. So like I said, I'm adding a low level, and this is for the technical people. There's a lot of people on this audience. I noticed Henny Loubser from Takala is on here. That's a team with incredible Jigx resources. It's such an important team for us, especially in a market like Australia, where they've really taken the lead and they've built up such amazing skills. We got so much feedback from Amanda on that team, Henny's team at Takala, and inspired us to do a lot of this work and make it easier. So what I want to do here is that rather than write a query, and let's say I'm going to work with Salesforce here, I actually can use this new thing called Jigx Copilot. And Jigx Copilot will pop up on the right-hand side, and it's been trained, and we keep on training this to do a whole bunch of things for us. I'm going to give you one example this morning. I'm going to say, write a select for the most common data fields in a Salesforce account entity. All right, so I'm not really going to be overly concerned with typing. So we're still working on the UI, of course, all the busy indicators and streaming and all that stuff. That's not really what we're focusing on. At this point, it really is, does the LLM understand what it is that Jigx needs? Now, we use JSON documents, for those of you familiar with Jigx. So JSON extracts, being able to use that, you can immediately see it brought back the information that's most commonly used. That, of course, is training information outside of this, looking at Salesforce solutions itself, and then becomes really easy for me just to take this and embed it in my solution. I don't have to write all of this. Of course, there's other examples as well. I can ask for write a select statement for a calendar entry using Microsoft, let's say Microsoft Graph as an example. If I get calendar calls, Microsoft Graph REST call. And at the same time, it will go back and actually fetch this data for me. And I'm going to show you one more example, because this is, of course, systems that's outside. So there's the some of the common fields, and you can also see it actually managed to flatten out more complex data structures within this, and I can immediately use this. It saves us a tremendous amount of time. Now, where I have existing data, so I'm just going to go into one of my Jigx tables here, and I'm going to take something that I think has got some data in it. I'm just opening this table, and let's say I'm just really looking for a JSON document, so that's why I'm in here. I'm going to take that JSON there. I mean, of course, it can come from anywhere, any REST call that I make. And I can just take that and say, write a select for, and just paste the raw JSON in there and give that to Jigx. And what it will do is this will actually understand the JSON document. Now, this is really nice, because when we make some of the REST calls, or even some of the SQL calls that comes back, the amount of data that we get and fields can be quite big, and to write all the select statements for that can be quite tedious. And so you can give it your own data, and it will immediately write and create this for you. And this is, I would say, 99.9% correct. Grant has done such a great job with this in the back end, making sure that as I mentioned, that the responses that we get is responses you can rely on. I use ChatGPT, and too often do I ask it to write a piece of code for me, and it doesn't work, and I have to go back and say it doesn't work. We did not want that experience in Jigx. We want you, when you get a response back from us, we want it to work. So it's one example of how we're going to bring this into Jigx. Of course, writing expressions, writing component layouts, all of that stuff. This is only the beginning. There's a project on top of this that our team, the tooling team is working on, which is just going to shift the paradigms of how people build these solutions, really completely outside of what we're doing right here. And I must tell you, if you see the work that Marcus, Voita, Philip, David, Yuri, Daniel, Peter, Wendy, and Samuel are doing together with, of course, there's a much bigger team in this. We'll be really, really excited about what the guys are going to do. So I'm going to move on from this just purely for time this morning. I mentioned dynamic files. I'm within management here. Dynamic files, again, it's not supposed to be a file management solution. If you want a full file management solution, please continue to use things like Dropbox or OneDrive or Google Drive. In this specific case, we just wanted to make it easier for people to define policies. As I mentioned, you can define complex policies as well as security rights, and then having a sort of flat store It's not a flat store. Actually, you can have folders and folder structures inside of this, but having a store where you can upload files and retrieve files. There's actually a lot that we do. We generate things like small previews for you. So actually working with this data is really highly optimized for traffic, the ability to take previews offline when you come online, working with full data, requesting full data sizes, document sizes. Keep in mind, everything that we do is about the ease of data and the optimization of data that flows between the device and the cloud. So files will be available soon to everybody to use. Really makes it easy to capture things like invoices or documents or whatever you want to use. And then, of course, once this data, and Jigx is aware of this data, it really makes it easy for us to start including context and information of this data in our data puddles. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. So I want to go from there immediately and jump into my phone. So you'll see I have an iPhone here. It's my personal iPhone. I am also my son's chief IT support person, so he should be in school, so hopefully we won't get an interruption. But what I want to show you here is logging into Jigx. Now, this is an application. It's actually one that we're working on, something similar for a partner. What this is, it's a project management, and project management is actually, in this case, is happening with a whole bunch of systems in the back end. We've got Monday.com that really manages a lot of the process around the project and the stages of the project itself, and that's where that will continue to happen. But we want to be able to bring that information and make it easy for the people that manage these projects, that's involved in these projects, to see what's going on, get the latest news, highlight certain things for them. So one of the first things I want to point out here is custom components. This screen is entirely built with custom components, and there's a reason for that. I wanted a header at the top here where I could see a bit more information. I wanted to see status overlaid on the image. I wanted to see a summary of it below, and of course, I wanted to see the image, and I wanted to see it in a list. So out of the box, you could build a simpler version of this with Jigx using custom components. I can actually decide where I want to place each element. I can decide the radiuses of the corners around it, and I can really start bringing my creative skills into this project. If I go down, you'll see at the bottom here, active projects. I can see the little avatar of the people that's involved in it. I can see the date, time, the current status, it's in progress, and current status of where the project is. And so really visualizing the information, and please remember that our whole mission at Jigx is to put little bits of information right under people's fingers. We think about this concept called micro actions. And so we want to be able to summarize and give you information that empowers you to make these decisions very, very quickly, because you've got your phone in one hand, you've got to reach this with one finger, and you've got to be productive. You've got 15 seconds to make it productive. So building these highly informative little UI elements that empowers people to be much more productive with these micro actions really is what we wanted to do. And it goes down all the way to the bottom. A much more complex example of a custom component here is where I wanted a calendar. Now we do have a calendar control, but that calendar control takes over the whole screen. I wanted a smaller version with less information that I could put on my Jig, where I can actually see what is available for my different days. I still want to be able to go in and view the details of that specific calendar entry. But for me, as somebody who gets to my home screen, I can very quickly get the latest news at the top. I get a glance of all the projects that's running out within my environment, and I can also very quickly see what's upcoming for myself for this day and for my team. So that was a really good starting point. We wanted to take it a step further. If I actually go into the project itself, we know that there's a whole bunch of things that's happening when people manage projects and systems that exist around us. So we talked about attachments. In this case, I am using the Jigx files. As I mentioned, you can use any file system. In this case, I'm using dynamic files. I have the objectives of this project here, so it's easy for me to see that. I have the supplies. I have all the current tasks that's available that people are working on. Again, you'll kind of see custom components playing out here where I can get down to the detail level of task management and assigning tasks very quickly and very easily, constantly, under your finger, under your thumb, within 15 seconds, dopamine hit, I've accomplished something. One of the other things, of course, then that's important when we do this is collaboration within the organization. So in this case, a specific customer is using Microsoft Teams. And so Teams, we have a channel where we're talking about some of these new products. And so we have this new product called the Twisty Cone. And the Twisty Cone is a product that we're busy talking about and collaborating about. And I'm in the Twisty Cone project. So when this project gets created, we associate the channel with the project, and that information now becomes part of the project definition. Now, there's something that's really important. People are using Teams, and Teams UI is familiar to them. So we wanted to take this familiarity of this experience, and we wanted to bring it over into the Jigx world. And again, using custom components all the way down to the little purple line on the left, you can see there. When I'm in project chat, when I go in there, I now get a full feed of my teams. We made the picture a little bit bigger, and that was purely a design choice on our side. And I have everything. If I go to, let's go to one of these other projects where I know, as an example, there's been some replies. My little line, it's me, I'm talking, you see the picture, I can like it. All replies are underneath inline, almost exactly the way the Teams will do it. So it brings this familiar feeling of tools that you're already using into the Jigx application, so you don't have to leave this environment, and you don't lose your familiarity with how the software already works, even though you're within the Jigx application. And again, it comes down to this. I see a UI that's familiar to me. I want to chat. I want to reply. My thumb immediately goes to the place where muscle memory takes it, because the UI in Jigx looks like the UI within the standard tools that I use. And there's just nothing else that can do this at this point at the speed that we can do it at. So custom components really, really at work here, making it fantastically easy for me. Now, what if I take this a little step further? What I have is I have all this information. I've got chat information. I've got documents that's involved here. And I want to know if any issues has been identified within this project. Now, of course, I can go read these documents. There is, I think if I go to attachments here, there's a document. Let's just go to the Twisty Cones here, because I think Twisty Cones has got a project progress report that's in there. Now, I'm not going to read through all that stuff, so I am going to ask the Nacho AI what he thinks of this. Now, as we mentioned before, we want to be able to bring agents into the applications in a familiar way. So people are familiar with chat, they're familiar with talking to these agents. I'm going to talk about other ways that we're doing it in a few seconds, but at least we want to be able to do that. The second thing I mentioned is the information that only you can see. And so we have a number of building blocks. We already have a highly private and secure store on the device that we work with. And we have dynamic data that allows us to optimize that data. We already have OData context. So we took a lot of this that we have, and we started to work on this concept of bundles of information that only you have access to, but that we have available that we can use to immediately contextualize against the LLMs without leaking any information. It's so critical. And that's not an easy thing to do, because people do it with function calls today, and function calls are slow. Every time you have to make an API call, it's slow. In Jigx's world, we found an incredible way to work around that, meaning we can speed this up and deliver this almost at real time at a highly optimized cost. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, let's just say, who are the people that's involved in this project? And I get to demo the stuff that's bleeding edge. So Dennis's demos always works. Mine might take on a different outcome. But anyway, it's fun. So what you'll see here, and if I open this document, I think I have the Twisty Cones Word document here, and Brock Purdy is the person that issued it. Carl Shanahan is the guy who approved it, and in here is more information about some of the other people that's involved. I don't have to read that. The Go pilot will immediately come back and say, talk about research development, Brock Purdy, Carl Shanahan, and tell me what else is going on within this. I can say, has any issues or risks been identified in this project? And again, all the information, all the text, all the chats are available for me, and I'll come back. Now, keep in mind, this is information only I can see, because if someone else logs in, They have different emails, they have different chat channels, they have different data that comes back from back in line of business systems. And this is where these data puddles become so important for us. Docket with projects initial concerns regarding costs, particularly equipment maintenance and upkeep. However, we've made certain adjustments, and that is coming from either the chat channels or the Docket with progress update report. But that information is contextualized and made available to the AI in a very, very short period of time. Now, keep in mind at this point, we have about 128,000 tokens that we can work with. And OpenAI's models, of course, if you use Google's models, you can work with 1 million tokens. But the more tokens you send in, it slows it down. And we have this 15-second productivity dopamine thing that's really, really important for us at Jigx. And so we try and stay with that. So I showed you how to use AI in chat, but what if I want to do more than that? What if AI can actually influence not just chat, but it knows what's important to me. I've asked it some questions now, and so what I actually expect it to do is to keep a continuous eye, and rather than me asking for it, bring some of these things under my attention. So I have 2 tabs here that I haven't pressed on: deadlines and issues. Deadlines is actually a real-time scanning of all these information sources that's in my data puddle in the back end. And what you'll see is it identifies upcoming deadlines that I have. I have 4 deadlines that the AI think is important for me. Now, might not be meetings. Meetings are different things. These are deadlines that I should know about. So on Thursday the 30th, I have a deadline here for nacho fries. It'll bring back information to me and show the people that's involved for me, as well as a description. Of course, you can decide what that UI should look like. The other thing that you are seeing here is you're seeing custom components at play again, because what I wanted here, and for this specific solution, is I want information clearly highlighted on the left, because the deadline, the date is important to me. It should be easy for me to see that. I color code the projects based so I can see all the projects at the same time, and I can see the deadline, more detailed date underneath it at the bottom. And so small pieces of information right under my thumb, immediately contextualizing it. The other thing is any issues that's been identified. So in this case, for this specific email, for this project, one thing, nacho fries, it identified an potential issue that I should know about. Large packages have arrived in the store and garage. We need to review and address them. So what we've done now is we've used contextual information within the models. We've used agents with built-in tools and services that Grant's built that allows us to do this. We're now using real-time collaboration, which is nice. It works, but sometimes we actually want to bring that data back. We want to bring it back in a structured user experience way, so you can actually see the UI, and it must work, as everybody knows. I just want to connect here to my Android phone and just show you what it looks like there. Must work for us equally across both platforms. I have it open. Oh, sorry, excuse me. There it is. All right, so there is Visor. Visor is a tool that I use. I have a Pixel Fold, Galaxy Fold here. And this is exactly the same thing on a Fold. I'm signed into here with a different account, so the information I'll see is slightly different. I have different deadlines and different issues based on the project that I'm part of here. So you can see actually much more issues here. I'm also using the white theme, Jigx apps, dark and light modes, but you can kind of see exactly the same experience I just had. On the other side, 100% consistent. User experience exactly the same all the way down to my chat. And so you get this all with custom components powered by LLMs out of the box within Jigx. So I want to show you one other thing that's a little bit more experimental that we're working on. But what if I want a more dynamic description of what's going on here and a more dynamic mechanism for interacting with data? And again, this is structured data on the back end. I want to interact with it in a collaborative way, but I want the LLM to actually be more prescriptive in what I can do. And I want it to be prescriptive in a way that user experience is involved. So I'm going to start this. This is a slightly different take on collaboration. It actually brings custom components, LLMs, declarative objects, as well as these data battles all into one part of the solution. And as I mentioned, this is slightly earlier stage, But it is possible to build this all. This will just become easier and easier and easier with Jigx, but to give you an idea what we're looking at. So I'm going to say here, I want to create a new opportunity within our CRM. In this case, it's Salesforce. So I need entity definition from Salesforce. What is the fields that's required within Salesforce? How many of these fields do I need to fill out? If there are lookup data, what are the lookup data values? And I should be able to reply to that and it should be presented to me. I want to maintain free text flow at the same time as well. And as soon as I have enough information, I want to be able to create the opportunity and do the rest later. So it really is about speeding this up. So I'm going to show you this. I have a new mobile app development opportunity. All right, so let's say we send that in. Now these LMs are a little slower. We're doing a little bit more work. It will immediately tell me, come back and say, what is this associated with? Picked a good one there, Apple. I think Apple needs mobile apps. Maybe they don't. Let's say in this case, it's going to be BMW, and I can just hit send. And immediately it'll come back. Now I'm keeping track just here of the responses. Of course, this can happen different ways. What's the total amount of the opportunity? Let's say in this case, $150,000. The LLM at the back end will look at all my emails, will look at all the context information, will retrieve as much information as I can, and you'll see something happen right at this point. For the first time, I have create opportunity right at the bottom here. So the LLM has extracted enough information. It knows what my specific Salesforce definition needs from a minimum amount of information. It also understands what information I already have available in my emails, my contacts, and my chats, like we showed you earlier on. We have all of that in the data puddles. And it allows me to then build these micro UIs that you're seeing here and present it to me in a way that I can either use free flow text or I can actually type and interact with the UI. So what are the services? Let's just say process consulting is one of the options there. Process consulting. I'm just going to do that. And then let's see. It's one other one. There we go. All the way down to looking up this customer's address and asking me to confirm that the address location is there. And if it's there, I'm happy. I've now captured enough information here about this. I can just hit create opportunity. And of course, boom, opportunity is created for me in Salesforce in the backend. And so what we did there was is using all of the things we talked about, data puddles, real-time data structure definitions, the ability to generate these user experiences inline on the fly. We don't know what UI is going to come back next. We don't know what's required in this specific Salesforce instance, but everything is working together within Jigx to put these micro actions under your fingers that you can react in within 15 seconds and be productive. And so we are so excited about this work that we're doing. We really believe that if I just want to go back here and wrap this up. I know we're just about out of time. We are so excited about the opportunity that exists, about the innovation, the API, and the building blocks that we're putting together, and the partnerships that we have, like Point B that I talked about this morning. But can you imagine 70% of the workforce in the US don't have this kind of systems that they can work with? It is such an incredible market opportunity for us. Being able to use all of these new technologies and give meaning to it and put it right underneath the fingers of people. We saw a lot of announcements over the last few weeks. Unfortunately, almost every single one of those announcements needed a desktop computer, Windows machines with new AI chips in them, and assistants that run on those machines. And that's fantastic for the desk-based office worker. But what about the other 70% of the people that work in the US? That's our mission as a company. That is what we want to do. Is we want to take this innovation, we want to put it on every person's phone, and we want to unlock the full potential of what exists within these 110 million people. And that's just in the US. Imagine what we can do around the world. It's been an exciting year for us. Record solutions growth, record customer growth, amazing new partnerships for us, amazing new investments in technology. We really appreciate the fact that you guys joined us this morning. Thank you so much for it. Glenn and myself and Dennis are available at those email addresses. The entire Jigx team is available for you. Please don't hesitate to reach out. We saw there's a whole bunch of questions. We'll get back to you. Unfortunately, we're out of time. we will come back to you and we will answer all of those questions. And we look forward to working with everybody in the future. Thank you so much. Dion, thank you for joining. Appreciate it. It's nice to have my dad on the call as well. He always asks me, what do I do for a living? And I can't explain it. Guys, thank you so much. Talk soon. And Stephanie, thank you very much for working with the logistics this morning. Yeah, let me see. Can you hear me? Yeah, yes, Pa.
Please just explain it, the whole thing in Afrikaans. Yeah, well,
I'm gonna.
I know. For the first time, I sort of understand. But anyhow, thank you very much. Adrian, I've sent you a mail. Just have a look at it, please, and phone me when you have the time. Thanks.
I will. Yes, I'll help
Hi,
you.
Glenn. Bye-bye.
Help you with your printer. Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. I was going to get an Afrikaans there, but never mind. Thanks very much. Cheers to you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, you. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it.